Now we're talking about the off-road stuff on this truck, other than the suspension. These tires, Falcon Wild PKTs, not like super aggressive for mud and stuff, but good tread depth, and they've gotten really good grip in the sand. Here's that giant front air strut. That's the little position sensor that tells the suspension how high up it is. And there's a steering, big aluminum knuckle, big aluminum bottom control arm, and stamped steel upper control arm. All looks okay, I'll say. Let me lay on the ground and get underneath here and see what else we can see on the front. So this is the off-road. So it does have some skid plates there. Pretty nice thick skid plate under your front diff. Giant sway bar. There's the front drive shaft. Some people have had front drive shaft failures on these. One similar to these, I'll say. But pretty sweet under here. Those front control arms look pretty serious. Big ball joints, big aluminum knuckles. That all looks good. What doesn't look good is this area between the front skid plate and the transfer case skid plate. It's open. There's a plastic oil pan on the transmission. That's how these are. That is the beautiful ZF 8-speed transmission. It is tucked up in there pretty far, as you can see. The exhaust hangs down a good bit beneath that, but still no real protection for, like, you know, a chunk of something flipping up underneath here and getting your transmission oil pans. I'll probably start looking into a skid plate to cover that part. I do that almost every truck I get. But there's the drain bolt on your oil pan for the engine. It's kind of funny. And this drive shaft's cool. This front drive shaft, that's a CV on that end, and that's a U-joint here, but there's hardly any angle on it whatsoever. So that's kind of nice. Pretty casting on the transfer case and the transmission. Yeah, pretty nice under here, I guess. Nothing hangs down super far, but again, I would like that transmission to be protected better. So this skid plate is awesome. Thick steel, very, like, you know, ribbed for her pleasure and protection. And it just looks really, really serious. I think these are the things that cancel out vibration that Michael was talking about. It's like a destructive vibration, little motor thingy in there. I believe that's what I'm looking at, who knows. This is what the container that is the storage inside the truck looks like. So those are those boxes you can get to. They just drop down the side of the frame rail. They look pretty well sealed up and stuff. That's cool. But yeah, this looks pretty good. I just need to add a skid plate there, which I'm not sure how I would do because of the exhaust, but I'll see what is available. But as far as the paint down here, it's better than the Chevy. It doesn't just rub off when you touch it. And it's better than the Ford because the drive shaft's actually painted. It's not rusting already yet. Yeah, neither are the front axles TVs. Wow, that's really cool. Go Dodge, actually painting stuff. But this skid plate's really, really nice and impressive. Way better than what came on my F x4 F-150. Because, you know, Dodge and Jeep all related. So this is a giant crossmember that bolts on here. Really thick. That goes all the way across. That's the gas tank skid plate. Now, I have no idea why it hangs down 3 inches below the gas tank. That's a little annoying, but it is pretty beefy. The gas tank's well protected. It just costs you some breakover angle here, the way that hangs down really far. They could have definitely tucked it up in there a lot farther. So I'm not sure what was going on with that, but it's beefy for sure. And like I said, it's an extra cross member that goes all the way across the frame. Sits up against it there, bolts in here. Feels pretty heavy duty. Let's slide underneath it because we can do that. Yeah, look at all this extra space that's wasted. I mean, I guess the ground clearance doesn't matter all that much because, you know, it's pretty much a street truck, but it is kind of goofy, but at least it's beefy. So there's the drive shaft, now the transfer case. You know, it is a 2-piece drive shaft. So you got 3 U-joints, big muffler, and then there's our rear control arms. But, you know, big plastic tank. This one has the oversized fuel tank, which is required when you get shitty gas mileage like a Dodge. Man, those front struts are massive, but a lot of aluminum. Pretty big brake calipers. The brakes in this truck seem good. I haven't really tested the shit out of them yet. Here we go. Nice big bolts for the floorboards. I ordered those. They'll be coming in soon. That looks pretty good with those bolts to the body. It should be pretty strong. Being able to put this truck in off-road mode and get it this high off the ground for climbing underneath it, pretty convenient. Built-in floor jack, if you will. So here's the rear suspension, 4-link suspension similar to the Jeep. There's a shock, so it's got one standalone shock, and then it's got a big airbag right there for the air ride. The gas tank blocks the view of a lot of other stuff over here. So there's the thing in the back that measures your height. It just goes from the upper control arm to the frame, and that tells the computer the height in the rear. Let's see if it has one on both sides so it knows articulation. It probably does, and like averages between them or something. But yeah, that's the little sensor that tells the truck how high it is. Now, I suspect I could change this link out with something from an RC car and trick the truck into thinking it was a different height. And if I did that all the way around, I could make it drive around lowered, or, you know, make it think that it was in aero mode when it really wasn't. I wonder if it pays attention to the PSI in the bag too. But that's a little fun trick I could play on the truck. Maybe try to make it higher or lower by changing the length of that arm. All right, let's get to the rear. Get hit in the head with the hitch or the bed step. That'll feel great. So there's your electric parking brake assembly there on the back caliper. Pretty big, beefy back axle. It does not have the thing where it circulates coolant through the back diff like my buddy's diesel does. It still has big standard bump stops right there on the sides of your airbags. Sway bar is tucked up pretty good. You're not losing a whole lot of ground clearance. I don't know why the heck these pieces hang down the way they do. That's just asking to grab onto something. I mean, I could lop them off pretty easy with a cutoff wheel, but oh, the truck just raised itself up half an inch or so. That's funny. Not sure why that happened. There's the exhaust splits to go into dual exhaust. So not really dual exhaust the way it splits, but so you got 4-link and a panhard bar, pretty standard stuff. That panhard bar doesn't look super beefy at all. The shock mounts hang down pretty far. That would grab sticks and stuff. These hang down pretty far. I'm not sure what that's for, but that's all stuff I could clean up with an angle grinder pretty easy. And then of course you got your wires going into the diff right there for your e-locker. Yep, pretty neat layout. The back axle clearance underneath it could be more well maximized the way that these sway bar, lower control arm mounts, and shock mounts are. But nothing to complain about too much. Let's take a look at this trailer hitch. Pretty beefy. I'd say it's just as good as my 6.2 Silverado, which I did bend, snatching people out. It's probably a little bigger than that. Comes down to here. Oh, this is the add-on for the bed step. That's interesting. So that's where the bed step mounts on the side of the hitch. I was like, what am I looking at here? Pretty beefy. Yeah, this side doesn't have it because the bed step's only on the one side. But yeah, hitch looks good. The wiring's all tucked up. Spare. It's a full-size spare, not a mag, but it is the same Wild Peak off-road tire, which is good. Yeah, not a whole lot to say down here. There are some extra connectors. I'm not sure where those would go. I don't know exactly what's going on there. Rear sway bar, not huge, but I'm sure it's doing something. Yeah, pretty neat.